All right. Hey, how you doing?
Good. Is it right?
Yeah, great to have you here at the Housing Symposium. And what's your name? And tell us what you're up to.
Sure. My name is LeBlanc. I'm the Slocan Valley Economic Development Coordinator. I work with Community Futures on a whole load of issues, including affordable housing. So really, what we're trying to do is improve the life of our community members and residents of the Slocan Valley, for me particularly.
Awesome. And so, what kind of new developments are you seeing coming in the next little bit?
Yeah, well, the world is changing and we are trying to adapt, and life in the valley has evolved since the 30 years that I've been living there, seen a lot of changes. And so there's part of us that want to cling on to the values of the past, but keeping an eye to the future and adapting to the inevitable change.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I've definitely spent a lot of time in the Slocan, and I'm often excited by the type of housing people are building, whether DIY or they're buying smaller, like a tiny home. They're also farming as well, so they're spending more of their money on growing food and less on a big house, which is exciting. Is that something that you're nurturing as well, like in terms of a holistic approach to development, including food and?
Yeah, I mean, I think some of those values around security of housing and food and community those are values that have been in the Slocan Valley for a long time, and it just looks a little bit different now. But certainly, we have a history in the Slocan Valley of a strong community, of alternative housing arrangements, let's say, a wealth of land and space, clean water, growing conditions. So it really has attracted pioneers to the area to make space for each other, co-create the kind of world you want to live in. And so that has, in terms of housing, in the past has, it's included things like land cooperatives, intentional communities, all kinds of tenants in common, alternative housing projects, and I have personally been involved in some of those myself, and have grown through that and had my eyes open to different ways of interacting with space and each other.
Yeah, awesome. And so, I mean, you were impacted by climate a couple of years ago, big fires, and that'll probably happen again. What are some of the bigger challenges right now in the Slocan that you're facing?
Well, one part is climate for sure. That underscores everything. I think climate change and trying to adapt to that. We are in a changing world. We've seen a lot of the Slocan Valley burn, where a lot of us have moved there because of the natural beauty and the natural, assets like the forests and the water. So we're seeing some changes to our environment. And we're seeing those kind of impacts that we have to adapt to, and it does displace people. It makes people, a little more careful. So some of the other things that we're experiencing is just rising costs of living.
Yeah.
And the residents the long-term residents and next generation of Slocan Valley residents are finding it harder and harder to subsist or just to live there. And we're also accommodating people that are displaced from bigger centers that can't afford it there. So even regionally in places like Nelson, there's a lot of people that would love to live in Nelson, can't afford it, so they're looking for the next best thing. And so they're moving further and further out of Nelson into rural areas. People are able to work remotely now.
Yeah.
And so we're accommodating an influx of those remote workers, which is great, gives people a way to live, but it also puts pressure on our housing market and accommodating market in the Slocan Valley.
Gotcha. Good. And so, what do you think in terms of major industry that needs to support this movement that we're co-creating at the moment? I mean, you've got obviously a lot of wealth that came from the marijuana business. There's a lot of wealth from the timber business as well. People build with wood. Are there any industries right now in the Slocan that are stepping up and saying, we got to do something differently? Here at the Symposium, we've got a lot of business or chamber groups, housing societies, and they're saying, okay, how can business get more involved in this? Do you see anything emerging in the Slocan as like industries stepping up?
Well, I am seeing more organization through the nonprofit and the housing societies. They're doing wonderful work. The thing about this type of purpose-built housing, it's awesome for the people that can benefit from it, but it is a drop in the bucket compared to the need.
Yeah.
And I really believe in rural areas where we have the space, it's a different kind of criteria about how do we address housing. Like I believe that it's ripe for creative thinking, to rethinking how do we make space for each other in our area. So I love the ideas of rural residents looking for tiny homes or a second home on their property to help supplement their income so that they can weather the storm and these financial times, while making space for other people. So I think the creative idea around that, and I think, the high cost of construction now and permitting, etc. It's so intensive it takes a lot of capital to build a second home.
Yeah.
So I love the idea of, these tiny homes or a different way of looking at things, modular homes or seasonal homes. I think that's really interesting to me.
Yeah, awesome. So what do you think we need to do? I mean, we're here with the Symposium, a lot of housing societies, a few builders, but not many. And so how do we bring people, if you're a professional builder or an amateur builder, working at setting up your little tiny home in the Slocan, like how do we bring these people together and get more exposure for this? Because we see it off the side of the road when we're driving through the Slocan. We're like, oh, I'm curious about that. Like, how do you think we can kind of work better together and make this happen faster?
It's interesting. I mean, to speak to your earlier question about is there an industry that can step up, and there's no clear industry that I'm thinking about. There's a lot of construction happening.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that have been builders or pivoted to become workers in the construction industry, whether they're operating their own machine, and plumbers, electricians. There's just so much building going on. So I think really, if there is a compelling story and a compelling opportunity, then there's a groundswell rising to meet that opportunity. Versus, so I see it as being a bottom up, rather than a top down. So I would love to see just residents see some models or examples of people that have a solution that makes sense. And a lot of it revolves around money. So if there's a way that you can have
financing vehicle,
and that would transition into eventually an income stream. Modest as it may be. So I think that's what are the barriers to that? What is the concerns? It's tough being a landlord. Not everybody wants to be in that situation. So can we look at some of those issues and maybe, shore up potential landowners to become landlords, or offer that unit as a rental, rather than the community or the word on the street being like, oh, did you hear about so-and-so that had a bad renter and now they're in trouble.
Right.
So I'd love to be able to address that socially.
Yeah, awesome. Well, it sounds like there's a tiny home tour that needs to happen, as well as a farm tour. There's regenerative farms happening in the Slocan, amazing growing innovation. And you mentioned, the creatives in the Kootenays.
Yes.
This is the beauty, like living in beautiful nature. We have an astounding amount of creatives that need to kind of lead, and we need to shepherd them along into other industries like building homes and growing food.
I think, fostering a sense of community pride and just community love for each other and neighborly love, rather than the narrative that feels like kind of more of a global or a bigger picture narrative where it is more divisive. I think we need to, the answer always comes back to community.
You bet. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Ron. I'm really looking forward to seeing the Slocan again this summer for a nice float down the river, obviously. And we'll be back at you soon.
Right. Thanks very much. Thanks so much.
All right, we're back here at the Kootenay Housing Symposium, and I'm here with Rick from Infinity Solar. Rick, how are you doing today?
Doing great, thank you.
Awesome. Tell me a little bit about Infinity Solar and what you're up to in projects this year.
Absolutely. So Infinity Solar's been around for about 7 years. We used to be Kootenay Solar, headquartered in Invermere, and operate all across Western Canada. So we're seeing a big uptick in home solar with the increasing electricity rates by all our lovely utility providers and people looking to save some money.
Yeah, awesome. And so how many units, say, for instance, have you guys worked on this year so far?
So this year we're probably up to about 50 signed contracts that are in the installation queue. We do just over about 100 a year in the Kootenays. So anywhere from a small, 3 or 4 kilowatt house to larger utility connections with commercial properties.
Yeah, fantastic. And so what, I paint the picture for me on the opportunity. How do we, how many units could we decentralize?
Yeah, so there's a difference in all the areas about how much sunlight you're going to get. So areas like Cranbrook, Kimberley, up the Columbia Valley, as well as Trail, BC, even Sagert, Nelson, you're going to get different amounts of sunlight. But for the most part now, with your rising utility rates and the price of solar installations coming down a little bit, almost anyone is worth getting some solar.
Yeah, gotcha. And what are some of the challenges right now customers are facing when contemplating the shift?
I see number one question is still always about what happens in the winter. The short answer is nothing happens in the winter. Yeah. So any production you get in the winter is kind of a bonus. We get 9 months of beautiful sunshine in the areas and then 3 months of not so lovely sunshine. But grid-tied systems allow you to bank your overproduced electricity, so you're able to maximize your savings that way. Then you're still getting people who live in beautiful mountain areas where there's hills and mountains in the way or beautiful trees, and so we obviously never want to entice people to chop down trees to make their solar work a little bit better. So working with them to figure out ways of maximizing their savings without cutting trees down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously one of the issues is the cost of install, just making that transition from the grid to off-grid or decentralized energy. Do you see anything, since we're at the Housing Symposium here today, do you see any traction with some of the customers where they're finding housing innovation that's more really affordable and spending more on energy systems and food structures?
Yeah. So there's definitely some incentive programs from BC Hydro. The RDCK just came out with theirs, so that's allowing people to add solar and reduce their electricity that way, while also then being able to allocate that savings to food security. More and more people looking to go off grid or powering greenhouses to be more self-sufficient that way.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, that's definitely the Kootenay vibe too. People are like, get me off the system, right? How can I do this faster?
Yeah.
Are you guys working on any developments, like larger scale developments? Is there anything on the horizon, developers that are saying, hey, we want to start with solar from scratch?
There's a very newly announced BC Hydro program for community solar projects. So that's going to allow municipalities or larger commercial buildings to allow solar savings for what they're calling subscribers. So that people who maybe live in a condo or the aforementioned people that are surrounded by trees want to be able to save with solar, but then aren't able to do that, are able to join these community solar projects and help fund a low displacement that way and then save money. So it's just in the very infant stage. So we're excited to see where that takes us.
Cool. And what do you think? What kind of support do you think we need for Infinity Solar and really any other component of decentralized living? What kind of support do you guys would you guys need besides more customers?
Yeah, I think it's just helping customers understand how solar works, what the limitations are on solar. You get a wide range of people who think it would never work and people who think that it works way better than it does. So just that information session. Days like today, where you're able to have face-to-face conversations with people. The West Kootenay trade show we were just at last weekend, able to communicate with, I think they have about 5,000 people through the door. So I think it's, you see more and more people get solar. You're going to see people taking it more serious and looking at it, asking the right questions, finding out, which ways to go, whether it's connected to the grid or off grid, and the ways of integrating other options to make it more doable.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, yeah, I think we're here to kind of try and figure out how to bring events. You've been at one of our previous events, do the Kootenay Resilience Festival, and then ultimately, using some cool tools like AI to help communicate the importance of decentralized energy and allowing for more food security to come with it. And it all starts with the ultimate affordable house, which we're still after.
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you see any customers doing anything differently with building homes?
Yeah, so we'll work with people in the starting stage of building their homes to to design it to maximize their solar production, in junction with their builders about the other energy savings that they could be doing. You mentioned AI. I think AI is going to help people do a lot as far as the timing of their loads. BC Hydro has some more ways of punishing you for when you're using your electricity. So we've already started helping people of, if you, make sure you run your dishwasher at night, close dryer at night, that type of thing. If you're able to do that remotely, or have a system kind of running that for you, then that's going to save customers a lot of money as well.
Cool. Well, yeah, Rick, thanks so much for all the work you and Eden Yesh and the whole gang at Infinity Solar is doing. And yeah, looking forward to supporting this regenerative movement ahead.
Thank you so much.
Right on. Okay, thanks, guys. All right, we're here again at the Housing Symposium and pretty excited to have Erika here from the BC Not-for-Profit Housing Association. Yeah, awesome. So tell me, what brings you here and a little bit about your organization and what you're experiencing today.
Yeah, sure. So we are the provincial umbrella organization that represents nonprofit housing providers in British Columbia. We have members who are all over the region here, so it's a good touch point for us to come and see how housing is going in the area, talk a little bit about what opportunities and challenges our members are facing. And this day is a really good opportunity, I think, for folks from all different touch points around affordable housing to come together to talk about solutions.
That's great. Yeah. And I know a big component of what you have to offer is education. How is that evolving these days in terms of communication and getting the word out? Because I saw your presentation. It was fantastic. It's a lot of information.
Yeah.
So how are we conveying that information out to the public?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends. There's a variety of different audiences that we target. We do a lot around government, so provincial and municipal governments in particular, working with partners federally. We do a lot of community engagement as well, so particularly coming to speak to councils where there's members of the public that are available to kind of hear what our members are up to in various areas. We spend a lot of time, I think, thinking about kind of the key messages that you want to be delivering around housing. What is the role of community housing? What is nonprofit housing? A lot of folks are really only familiar with ownership or renting. So just explaining that there's this whole system out there and there's a really good opportunity to provide some more affordable housing if we spend a little bit of money in that space.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. Yeah, I'm glad you kind of captured the moment in terms of debunking a lot of the terms. Even in a room full of experts, we're often confused because a lot of stuff is new. So in terms of communication, and this is a big point, people are like, hey, this is a housing crisis. What can I do to be part of it besides just volunteering for my housing society? What are the other things that the general public can do to kind of get to learn a little bit more about housing innovation in your sector?
Yeah, good question. I think getting to know what local nonprofits are already doing in your area. A lot of communities in BC have very impactful local nonprofit housing providers. They're often facing an uphill battle when they're coming to council with projects that they want to get approved that are for seniors or families or whoever. So really starting to understand who the nonprofits are in your area, seeing if there are volunteer opportunities with them, but also standing up and speaking to local councils, really putting your name and your face behind these projects to say, hey, I live here. I'm very interested in ensuring that my grandma has a place to move on to when she's ready to move out of her single family home. home. Really showing your support for the community housing sector can be hugely impactful.
Good. Yeah. Awesome. Well, we're in the rural part of BC, and you're in Vancouver.
Based
Yeah.
there,
So we have a lot of people leaving the big city, a lot of remote workers, a lot of techies that are coming in, and they're like, great, let's do this. And whoa, there's a lot to do with volunteers. And we have volunteer burnout quite a bit, right?
Yeah.
And so it's a big deal. So from the big city and the other organizations that you're affiliated with, like Innovate BC or some of the other Crown Corps, is there anything that you see as supporting you and us ultimately in getting the point and the communication dial? Because right now we're using traditional marketing and traditional e-learning. Is there anything remarkable in terms of getting the word out? And yeah, we're going to talk about AI. How is AI working in your world these days?
There's a lot in one question there. I think we're seeing when it comes to AI, I think that's popping up in our sector in a lot of ways. Everyone's looking for ways to do things more efficiently.
Yeah.
I think for small nonprofit housing providers, there's a real opportunity when it comes to the admin side of things that you're very underfunded for, and you don't really necessarily have a HR person, or there are certain roles that you can't necessarily fill, or it's a part-time position or a volunteer position. AI can play a big role in the kind of efficiency in that space. When it comes to kind of those broader partnerships, I think recognizing the connections that housing has to things like health, to some of the other areas, when we see joint communications and those kind of projects that come together across sector, very effective. I think we often think about housing in its own little bubble, but it is very intricately connected to all sorts of different things. It's a foundation of health in some other areas. So whenever those partnerships come together, really, really valuable.
So yeah, right now you're seeing these partnerships coming together manually where you're approaching, or housing societies or businesses are approaching. How do you predict, how can we smooth the flow of this kind of partnerships that's happening between housing and food and innovation and tech? Like besides us coming together here, do you see anything at the moment in BC that's like bringing together sectors and making it happen faster?
Yeah, I don't know if someone wants to look at a bunch of strategic plans that tend to just live in the ether on the internet and say, look at all of these things that are connected. That's usually where I start when I do these partnerships. But I think there's something to be said for a tool that could bring that together to be like, hey, you're actually all trying to achieve the same thing.
Like AI.
Yeah. So something like that. Yeah.
We're just a bunch of techies here. And, there's a lot of change with remote work and tech work. We're effectively being replaced with AI. So we're like the canary in the coal mine. Hey, but now we get to support us in this initiative to optimize the flow of housing in BC, and then deploy that money from banks into other projects like food security and energy decentralization, you name it, the stuff that people are looking for around here, right? Yeah. So that's the kind of partnership we're looking for in terms of, regional here. That's why everybody's here in a conference. And yeah, I'd love to learn more about what you guys are doing in Vancouver, because sometimes we're like, hey, Vancouver. Like how can we, bridge that gap between urban and rural?
Well, I think we are a province-wide organization, and I'm very lucky to be a part of an organization that invests a lot of my time and a lot of our own resources in getting our staff out and around to different parts of the province, hence me being here today. But I think wherever there's opportunities to kind of continue to have those conversations, I find government still lives a little bit on the island, like in and around Victoria. And so we're often kind of bridging that. We're creating a rural and remote advisory committee for our organization. We have strong representation on our board, and we always have, but we're trying to see how we can layer it in. But anyway, so it's for us to really figure out, we can go into community and then figure out how we can bring some of those conversations forward. But wherever that can kind of be supported, I think really valuable, because there is certainly not one size fits all when it comes to housing.
Yeah. We'll just talk about housing quickly. Automated home building. What's your perspective on this right now in the province?
I think there's been a lot of lessons already learned through. BC has innovated in some of these spaces for a while. So when it comes to the new federal focus on modern methods of construction building, BC sort of has a leg up in that, and that we've been talking about this and working in this area for a while. it is an opportunity to a certain extent. It's not my area of expertise, so I know there's a lot going on in that space, but it's exciting to see how that kind of world and that kind of innovation can better help us deliver cheaper, affordable housing, because that's really, at the end of the day, what makes cheap rents.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we don't have a current organization that kind of supporting. We have the CHBA, and is there any other organization in BC that's kind of supporting housing innovation?
In terms of like construction methods?
Yeah, construction methods.
I don't know if there's like one organization that's doing it. We actually have we got CMHC funding to do a webinar series, so we're trying to highlight all the groups that are doing that. So we've just started that this year, which is wonderful. There's been a lot of appetite, but I do think we're lacking that kind of central voice for that. Yeah.
Okay, good to hear. We've got something to work on.
Yeah. So good way to
Yeah.
put it.
Just so you know, the Kootenays has the largest concentration of housing innovation outside of Vancouver.
Yeah, I heard that.
Per capita. And so we're just trying to showcase this over the course of a video series. And I really, really appreciate your support in Vancouver and for not-for-profit housing. And we're here to crush the cost of living so everybody can afford the things here, go forward, and have a resilient lifestyle. So, yeah, thanks, Erika.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, appreciate it.
Here in the Kootenays.
Thanks. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank
right
you.
on. See you soon. All right, we're back at the Housing Symposium here in Nelson, BC. I'm with Jesse Woodward here at the City of Nelson. You're a councillor and
Second term councillor, yeah.
awesome. Tell me a little bit about yourself and your background and what brings you here.
Well, I basically grew up here most of my life. Had to come and go for education and work and such. Came back here in early 2000s. I have a master's degree in management, and so when I did come back, I really wanted to basically do community development. And so one of the first jobs I got was running the farmers markets here for 7 years. I did that. And then I ran food banks for a bunch of years. And I got elected in 2018 and then again in the last election cycle. And I'm running again. So
There you go. Good. I'm glad you are.
thank you. I think the thing that I see in our community that's quite incredible is this amazing number of social service sector groups that work to make many parts of our town function really well. I think when I go to big conferences, people often look to Nelson as an innovative community.
Yeah.
We're doing a lot of innovative things here. Part of that I think goes back to when I was a child in the Slocan Valley. In the 70s, there was a whole back to the land movement, and a lot of those people that came here they were very, very educated. They came here to live a different lifestyle, which really sort of made Nelson kind of what it is, or it's changing now, of course, but that was a very big, impactful group, and I think that whole ethos continues on in Nelson, about that people can group together in small focus groups and get stuff done here, because it's not too big. It's a human scale town.
Yeah.
City Hall is very approachable.
Yeah.
And I think you can try things here.
Yeah.
And I think that has developed a very innovative culture here.
That's awesome. Awesome. And what are some of the challenges you're facing going into your next term? What do you see as like challenges that you definitely have to get besides what we're up against here, which is this housing crisis and compounding crisis? What are some of the main challenges that you're facing in terms of engagement?
I think, we're next term and the following term is going to be infrastructure. Yeah. So like many towns, a lot of our infrastructure here is, 80 to 100 years old.
Yeah.
So we're talking new sewer plant, new fire hall. All of Baker Street has to be torn up and all the underground has to be replaced. New force main, new water main. Like there's many very large projects. Part of the reason I want to run again is I've been spent 8 years working on developing all the documentation, all the planning towards those, and I would love to see them actually come to fruition and be part of there to shepherd that in. Okay. So I think a lot of municipalities are right in this time of like affordability crisis, are also facing an infrastructure deficit.
That's right.
And lots is coming due at the same time, which really challenges municipalities with grant funding streams, right? Because everyone's looking for essentially the same streams.
Yeah.
But We've had really good financials here for 20, 25 years. And I've seen a lot of really great hiring practices at the city of getting people who are highly skilled and ready to work. And because of all that, I feel like we're in very good position to move forward now. And yeah.
So for housing, which is a big topic in Nelson, like every other community, how do you think government could support housing innovation specifically? You've got a lot of development happening in the city right now, some affordable, some not affordable. How do you find that balance in encouraging us, the industry, and the techies around to kind of really be part of this evolution?
So are you talking about municipal level?
Just the community.
Community level?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I think one of the things I've seen is that there's an incredible, like the last times that I've been in office, this growing synergy between community groups and municipality working well together.
Yeah.
And when we work well together, I mean, we can do a lot.
Totally.
I mean, one of the challenges here in Nelson is it's a very tightly geographic bound community. So we have to find innovative ways to, where we build these projects and how do they come to fruition. I think we have an incredibly dedicated grouping here that's been building affordable housing for 20, 25 years. Yeah. And that makes the city's job much more fluid because people are very skilled that are coming to us to develop a new housing project. They've already had 2 or 3 they've done. Yeah. They know what they're doing, and we can get off the races quickly.
Perfect.
So I think there's we're very lucky that way. And again, that goes back to that kind of innovative groupings that have come here to Nelson and sort of developed a kind of Nelson-centric way of doing things, and it's really showing. It's showing now that we can do a lot of great things.
Cool, that's great. I'm congratulate you for your success and all that collaboration. So Kootenay-wide, Nelson's the big kid. It's the downtown of the Kootenays. You've got a lot of success. You've got more wealth. How do we work better together amongst communities? We've got these little housing societies. I'm on the board of the Caslow Housing Society, small but mighty.
Yes.
How do you think we can crack the code and really get to some of the solutions that we need in this bioregion and perhaps around the world? Because we've got some notable companies here. Kalishnikov. We've got Spearhead. We've got some amazing innovation like 20 additive manufacturing. They are at the forefront of 3D printing. I mean, my company, we got lots of innovation. So how do we support these communities? Like on a councillor level, you're centered on Nelson, but a lot of our friends that pay for your bills are living in a Slocan and all over.
Well, I definitely I've seen both of the city, and I also sit as an alternate at the on the regional district on many boards there. Right. And I do see this big push towards regional collaboration. So one of the things I think have happened in the last 10, 15 years is this recognition that regionally, we're all kind of dealing with the same thing now, where I think it was more separated in the past, a different kind of issues in different towns. I think really it's very similar now. And when I go to big conferences too, there's a lot of similarities that a lot of small towns are dealing with. So I would say that this regional approach is a really good direction to go into, so that we can share information, we can share knowledge and wisdom, and share like the skills that Nelson has. So I think that is happening. I think groups are connecting with other groups. I think we have a deep well here, a deep well of knowledge and experience, especially around housing, but also in all kinds of computer industry innovation. I tell people too when they ask me like, what is Nelson these days? And I'm saying it's kind of like a town that's professionalizing.
For
right?
sure.
It's really coming from a more kind of funky background to a more kind of professional level of people that are moving here and people that are doing work here. We have really good fiber here and I think very high speed internet connections, so people can do a lot of incredible internet work here, and that's changing the landscape. But I think in an interesting way, we are professionalizing, and in some ways maybe getting more expensive as a town, but we're also getting an incredible amount of brain power that's coming here. And so that, it helps us grow in a really innovative way.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, well, that's great. I think there's a lot of opportunity, as we know, we're here, not just to share verbally, but digitally. A lot of this. Nelson has been at the forefront of digital. Rick Lochtenberg, OG digital guy, and really steering the ship for the rest of the Kootenays. And now we have tech teams all over the Kootenays. It's quite remarkable, right?
It is amazing.
And we're all using AI, right? And it's just a fantastic tool. Do you see that at the city level yet? Are people really embracing AI at this point? Do you need some support? How do we work better together to shepherd on a super tool like this to really optimize the life that we have?
So, I mean, our IT department has fully embraced that. I mean, we have to, and AI is being utilized by staff, of course. I would just say the thing I see going into the future is that we need to maintain our human contact, our human connections, and our human decision making along with AI. So I hope AI ends up being like a really great tool to help us, but not to just, like hand the keys to the kingdom over to AI. So,
Yet.
But I definitely see it. It is bubbling up. It's becoming really like a part of how the city functions.
Good.
And we're doing a lot of like GIS work, and we're doing a lot of taking all of our kind of paper file and putting it into digital, and then using GIS and able to then work much more efficiently as a city.
Yeah, great.
Right. And we're not like just as an example, if somebody needs to fix a water main, they're not looking back through paper files or somebody who might have knowledge. They can just go to GPS or AI and figure it out and know exactly where it is. And that makes efficiency really work well.
Awesome. We're happy to hear that. I mean, we've got like 1,500 techies in the Kootenay Knowledge and Tech Workers group. We're really, really eager to kind of support different businesses, not-for-profit agencies that don't have the capital and bandwidth that you have.
Right.
But perhaps there's a chance this year where we can get together, maybe do some hackathons,
I think I know a lot of people who are in the tech industry here, and there's a lot of support. I think there's a lot of like municipal support and community support for that. It feels like tech is one of those ways that Nelson can express itself in a really interesting way. Like it was heritage for a long time. It was food. It was farms. It was like a lot of that. I think tech is coming into its own place now. And I think what's interesting is how we can operate at a really high level with tech for such a tiny town.
Yeah.
Like it's 12,000 people
That's
here.
right.
Like we're just this tiny little mountain town.
Yeah.
But when I do go to conferences, like people are just like, oh, you're from Nelson. Whenever we're doing something, we always look at what Nelson's doing first.
Yeah. We go to Shambhala.
So I think that's bodes well.
Yeah.
I think Nelson really punches above its weight.
Yeah.
It's known, like globally. And I think it that kind of level of support brings an upwelling of people feeling good about what they're doing, and they come here and they share and they develop companies and movements, and it's pretty great that way.
You guys do amazing events, like there's the night market. I mean, all the markets, all the little bitty events make everything special. It's really spun out to the other communities and in the Kootenays, and the techies are trying to stitch it together in a sense. So I'm looking forward to working with you guys. And supporting our endeavor to really make sure everybody has the tools to do what they want, which is what we want to do here.
I would definitely say, like, for so long it was resource-based employment here, and I think we now that is a much more challenging environment, and so I think the idea of having a solid tech grouping here is really important moving forward. And for small towns, and especially like in the interior here, way out in the middle of nowhere, that kind of tech connection can really see us into the future in a good way.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks so much, Jesse. Yeah, really great to connect, and we'll see you again this year.
Okay. Take care. Thank you.
See you. All right, we're back here at the Housing Symposium. I'm here with Cam from the Lower Columbia
Community Development Team Society, or Metal Tech Alley.
Excellent. Metal Tech Alley. I'm excited to hear about what's latest and greatest in your Spectre So tell me what's up.
Well, I've been in the role for a year now, and I'm working on really bringing innovation money here from the province and the federal government. They're very interested in investments in critical mineral supply chain security. So people are always surprised to learn that Trail is a globally significant producer of critical materials. They produce a quarter of the world's annual supply of germanium, which is critical for optical technology. It's used in medical imaging. It's used in all kinds of things that are that support the modern economy, not just used in aerospace and defense, but more importantly in things like the future economy that's based on EVs and your phones, and everything has these critical materials in it. We don't have an economy without that stuff.
Yeah, and so there's been a lot of publicity around recycling as well. So really taking that circular impact. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, down in the Trail Metal Tech Alley region, we have recyclers of automotive batteries that recover lead. That's a fully circular economy. Bring it in, it gets repurposed and made into new products. And we have a recycler, Service Solutions, that processes lithium-ion batteries and e-waste and is able to recover critical materials that are then sent up the hill to Tech Trail operations, where it's processed, and then companies like Phoenix Advanced Materials take that product and upscale it to be this ultra fine refined product that they can then sell around the world. So it is a globally significant place. Starts with recycling and reusing, kind of urban mining, it's called, producer of critical minerals.
Amazing. So everything is growing from your perspective.
Yeah, it's a great time of opportunity right now for the Trail Roslyn and really the Kootenay region. That there are, we produce that material here, and it's needed around the world.
Good. So obviously you need some housing.
Yes, that's why I'm here.
So about that, for an innovation guy like you and plugged into the scene, which is quite innovative, a lot of it's old innovation forged with new innovation. Like, how do you see this kind of developing? We're looking at some bigger industries here supporting not just money, but knowledge to the housing crisis. How do you see this kind of marrying?
Well, I mean, we need to see all hands on deck here, and we need to leverage what funds are available. We see that there's fiscal restraint to both the province and the federal government, so we need to do more with less. That's where innovation comes in, and I think the more we can leverage things like modular approaches or shared cost models, or having community trusts that are able to invest and use folks that are interested in doing this really good work for the community, the better.
Yeah, great. So do you think some of the bigger players like tech could be part of supporting housing innovation, or anything that their employees are obviously facing?
Yeah, well, I can't speak for them, but I know that they're certainly very interested in housing solutions. When any employer in the region is looking to bring top talent in, the first place they're like, where can I find a place to live? And if they can't find a place to live, then it's tough to move your family, into the mountains here, no matter how good it is.
Yeah. So, I mean, Cam's been part of the innovation scene and bringing people together. Besides this event, how do you think we can do a better job at kind of co-creating and collaborating amongst organizations, which is a critical role for you? You're doing it manually, and we could talk specifically about AI. How do you see this next phase kind of getting mapped out?
Well, I think it's having these conversations, meeting frequently. We have member meetings. We really rely on volunteers that are passionate and want to make a difference in their community. Outside of the Lower Columbia Community Development Team, we created a society, the Lower Columbia Affordable Housing Society, 13 years ago, that branched out and is now has 80 units that they're managing, and they're here representing themselves. So really tapping into community interest, those that have time and capacity, that want to be involved in like real solutions that will make a difference. I think that's critical, and continuing to have lots of really targeted conversation like that they're facilitating here.
Good. Well, I encourage you and everyone to kind of hang out with their local techies too, because a lot of them are canary in the coal mines. We're getting replaced by AI. We're coming back to the community saying, "Hey, Cam, what can we do to help?" So how do we bridge that gap? And then, just tell me if there's anything innovative in terms of a new company that's emerging in Metal Tech Alley, or is it just increased funding?
Yeah, well, I'm really interested in, folks that could go through. I've just met Roger Hull from VoltaWorks, and he's got a team working on modular battery packs that could be refurbished and reused, because a lot of these batteries, as they degrade, they all have to go. And then this would be a modular concept. I think it's a great idea, and I'm interested to see how I could support him and his company, because I think these kinds of innovations are critical. We've seen companies come out of that innovation ecosystem, and love to support it going forward.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks so much, Cam. Really appreciate your work that you're doing, and looking forward to some more discussion here at the Housing Symposium, and then some more over the course of the year.
Thanks, Mark.
Right on. Thanks. Yeah, see ya. All right, we're just here at lunch at the Housing Symposium, and I'm here with Max, who's a land developer. Max, tell me, what brings you here today?
I'm here to learn about more exciting things, more opportunities, potential funding, government initiatives in order to help maybe provide more affordable housing, especially in like a rural community like Nelson. We're based out of Blewett, which is about a 12-minute drive out of here, and just interested in helping out the community and getting more housing, especially for kind of like the affordable kind of middle income range. But just very interested in alternative housing. Right now working on like an RV and tiny house community, like for 16 lots just to start it off. But very interested in some kind of like alternative buildings, maybe like 3D concrete printer, or perhaps like hempcrete, or just very interested in new technology and different ways of doing things, especially related to like fires, because that's very, very common thing out here that very much is concerning for the community. So looking at building for generations and trying to focus on things that will last hundreds of years.
That is amazing news. We need more people like Max. Thank you so much for being here and doing that.
Okay, great.
So what at this moment are you looking for in particular for your community? Like, to get started, how do you think you're going to manage this?
I think funding is going to be one of the main things, because I think my budget's going to be fairly strapped just getting the RV park going, which is just basically getting services in. So power's a lot line, septic's right there. Septic will hopefully go in the ground. So I mean, it'll be mainly funding and going on to the next step of being able to put in a significant number of houses, because I just don't. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. Yeah. And are your neighbors, have they been pretty supportive? What do they think of things?
They're definitely a little bit concerned.
Yeah.
So the property I purchased was fully forested to begin with, but then was purchased by a logging company. It was completely logged. So it's a bit of an eyesore out now. And so then the neighbors were definitely very rural. It was very not very many people were living out there. And now I will be the second RV tiny home community moving into the area. So they are concerned about noise, but I think I'm pretty new to the neighborhood, so I try to reach out and be friendly, and I think they understand that we do need housing, and but I think we can also have slightly more dense housing while still not being able to compromise people's rural living.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you live in a yurt yourself, right?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
so I'm living round already, and
There you go.
I've been enjoying it for 7 years, and it's been good.
That's good. Yeah. So that's a great way to kind of get involved in this kind of development, is choosing something that's already existing that the Kootenays is familiar with, and then getting people to experience it, right? So you've got, potentially RVs and people coming to experience your little development, and then perhaps they can be part of supporting the evolution of things, right?
Yeah, I mean, to be able to provide spots that people could, I'm not sure if I'd let people build their own things, but be a part of an alternative housing community. I think people, especially in Nelson, people are really interested in that. Yeah. People love living in yurts and trailers, and realistically, some of the the only ways that people can actually afford to get into the housing market around here. So I think people are really interested in that, and I think generally people just want to have a slightly rural, area that they can live in. I don't think they need a huge garden, but I think that's what people just want, a little bit of an outside space and to feel rural while still being able to afford to live there.
Yeah. And so have you looked at different models for ownership? Have you studied like co-ownership models, and, what kind of models are you looking at right now?
I have done a little bit of research into maybe not super serious about the current times, but more like failed communes was something, and there seems to be a lot of challenges with co-ownership. I also have some friends who co-bought, and it has just been a complete nightmare.
Oh, yeah.
So I feel very blessed that I can be the eccentric leader of this group to begin with, and I don't think subdividing it could potentially cause a lot more problems than it solves.
Yeah, and with co-ownership models, you don't necessarily need to subdivide. You just get shareholders. It's like a business that you operate, and then you have a shareholder. It's a small or a big shareholder. You have partners right now?
Nope.
No partners, just yourself.
It's just
Yeah,
myself.
got it.
And my partner.
And your partner.
She's the marketing director, who should probably be in this interview, but she's great, and she helps me with a lot of stuff. But it's just us right now.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, right now you're right. I think there was a lot of failed intentional communities in the area, especially in the Slocan area, but they were also incubating different ideas and solutions that now perhaps technology can support, right? So we're a bunch of techies here hanging out and saying, how do we support this evolution of living? First of all, it's just actually understanding the wealth of resources in this room. You're hearing a lot very quickly, right? But then how do we actually allow you to kind of dive into each one of these things without speaking to each one of these people, right? So how do you think you could explore such things? I mean, your previous history and your partner, tell me a little bit about her.
Well, she's a marketer by trade, but has struggled to find work in this community because it's so small and kind of saturated, I think, by people who are in that same thing. But my experience is more just like living in the community of people that can't really afford to buy a place. So trying to find a solution in order to help them. I think it's where I'm at. Yeah.
So I'm sure you could use some good engagement platforms too, really. From getting, it's good to speak person to person, but then also synthesizing a lot of the land's data. That's the more important thing that people forget. It has a lot of data. Nature has a data set. And how do you have people that are visiting or staying long term in your land really understand what the land is saying? And then it comes up with ideas, Right. It has ideas on how we should live, right? Instead of us saying, what should we do next? Yeah, cool. So you're just getting started on this adventure.
Just getting started.
And what's the master plan look? Are you using AI for planning?
I probably should. I mean, there's lots of eccentric ideas. I mean, ideally, starting off with the RV park. There's quite a lot of space. And so, like, I was talking to Cher Nelson about, maybe a larger building, but like maybe smaller, like cabin style, where people can still, where the cost of building the structure isn't significant, where you can probably squeeze a fair number of people in whilst giving them some rural space. And then an event space is like on the list too. That would be really nice to be able to provide kind of a beautiful space where people can get married and things like that. I don't really want to charge much for the accommodation. I don't want to do that. I want to try and make that as affordable as possible.
Definitely.
But then the event space could generate a little bit more income to kind of like financially support the housing.
Good.
So that's kind of like the dreams, but there's a lot of space. The property used to be like an animal sanctuary.
Oh, wow.
This lady called Helen Jameson ran it for 50 years just by herself.
Okay.
She was the Nelson Citizen of the Year in 2016.
Oh, wow.
And she just took in all these injured animals and like nursed them back to health. It was a really, really cool story. There's a YouTube called Stay Wild. That showed her and the property before it was logged. And so maybe they're now looking for like a shelter kind of for animals to be rehabilitated, so there could well be space for that. Right now we're just trying to work out getting water. So obviously that's the challenge.
So you need water, energy, waste to resource recovery. What about food? You got started on food growing?
We've got lots of space.
Good.
We could do that. I mean, I'm a little overwhelmed with my own garden.
That's why you got to look at co-ownership. I mean,
Yeah,
it's a tough prospect. I think you're in the right frame of mind with starting it yourself. And then, how do we actually connect a lot of the communities? I speak to 100 landowners like yourself. They're saying, how do I do this? So we're here to kind of support in any which way, shape, or form with AR, with human.
Okay.
And
Great.
really good to meet you. And thanks so much for all of your work. And best of luck.
Well, yeah. Thanks for talking to me. And I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to learning more about the geoships.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Cheers, man.
Great to meet you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Later. All right, we're back again with the Housing Symposium, peeps. I'm here with Jayme Jones from Selkirk College. Jayme, I first met you at the affordable, what was it called, the event?
It was a homelessness response summit. Yeah.
All these different terms. So tell me, what did you learn from that event? It was really fantastic. It brought a lot of people together like here. What did you learn from that, and how are people acting on it these days?
Yeah, well, we actually did the summit 3 years in a row. And the reason why we did it is just like with this, we have a complex topic. In that case, it was around homelessness. This is about attainable housing, but it's about bringing all the different stakeholders together. Because it's really important. We learn from each other. It's really important that we share ideas and have an opportunity to connect. And rather than duplicating effort, we can learn from each other and find times where we like, hey, let's work together. And it's about allowing the expertise of the room to lead towards action.
Yeah.
Because I can't do it alone. You can't do it alone. None of us can do it alone. We have to do it together.
Yeah.
So the summit or like this event, that's why I really wanted to come here today. It's about connecting and learning and being together with the region and all the key stakeholders.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so like the college itself too is kind of evolving. There's a lot of students and professionals, and it's a big supporter of all sorts of initiatives in the region. Like, how do you see academia kind of leading that charge with collaboration and co-creation? And it's a big topic that we all talk about, education. A lot of people here need to understand a little bit more with housing technology, and where do we go with learning?
Well, something like a community college, especially Selkirk College, is we're connected and embedded in. So we have so much potential with expertise, with the students who could help work on projects with community. We can get innovative with different programs. It's always a struggle to find the funding to be able to do it, but the potential is there, and the commitment is there, and the expertise is there. So it's just being that neutral intermediary bridge that can also bring resources, knowledge, especially research, to help us do applied work in the region that matches our needs. Because what works in another area doesn't work necessarily here. So we can help identify and support those actions.
Yeah, awesome. And what are some of the bigger actions or projects or courses that are coming out of Selkirk specifically for housing, since we're focused on housing here? Is there any program right now that you suggest that we interface with?
There's probably more than I'm aware of, for sure. I mean, we have the trades program. I'm sure they're doing lots of incredible work. I've been working on the social science team, so working within more the social sector and the homelessness response lens. We also have our advanced manufacturing group that are constantly coming up with really great, cool innovations, and I don't even know half of what they do, and it's always changing and evolving to match needs. So the potential's there, and then as new opportunities come up, we can be quickly adapt and seek funding to fill a need.
Good. Yeah. And how do you think this can work with partners over time? I mean, there's a certain amount of bandwidth and resources and capital you have, but in real estate, there's a lot more, right? So I'm often curious on how do we intersect these groups besides the event? Like, how do partnerships work with these education facilities, and what's going to make it thrive?
Well, funding. Funding's huge, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I found myself in a role for the last couple of years where I've been able to be that intermediary between communities. And when I hear something, say, happening in Trail, I can let them know in Nelson or in Castlegar and in your helping to cross-pollinate information. I hear a need, and then it's like, oh, I can do a student project, and let's get some students on board to fill that need. So that potential's there. But without sustained funding to support post-secondaries and being that intermediary, we're not going to be able to do it. So I think that's a really strong constraint, especially right now.
Yeah, got it. And you just told me you took an AI course recently? AI.
An AI course, yeah. I took this incredible AI course through UVic Continuous Learning. It's called Meta-Relational Approaches to AI.
Okay.
It really blew my mind because it allowed me to understand the paradox of AI, both the challenges, how it's designed, the constraints within it, but also the potential if used well, and to look at it in a way that can help us be more resilient. And so it's really easy for folks to get themselves in a camp like, I love AI or I hate AI. And it really allowed me to see both, and I just see so much potential, while knowing that there are consequences and some trade-offs you have to be aware of. But I think it's worth it if done right.
Right, yeah. And our groups in the college right now working a lot with AI, and in what capacity?
I think it's probably variable as well. Yeah, I like to use it lots. I use it as a tool to learn, and I'm constantly growing my capacity to do different things with the support of it. But I think the potential is limitless at the moment, while being cautious of the consequences. And so it's always paying attention to, is this useful or is it not? And it's also really important to keep the humanity in our decisions, in our work, and our research. So it supports it, but we have to be grounded in the human side of it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we're left with the big American AI, but this too can be decentralized, right? So in the Kootenays, we're very resilient. We've been building tech for a very long time, and that's the kind of thing that we're interested in undertaking here.
Well, I like one of the things that I'm really curious about through the learning that I've done is, what would it look like if we created our own Kootenay AI that we could program and develop that's, say, related to all housing? Contractors, ideas, sharing, and then someone can go in and be like, I'm curious about this. Let's see what's in the specific AI about this, and it could ask questions or point to different connections. It's a way that we could help surface things and patterns that were maybe blind spots otherwise. Yeah. So it has so much potential.
Yeah, and just getting it out to everyone, kids to co-create instead of being stuck, or older adults that are really smart in the Coots. They're sitting at home and, wanting to partake in some way, shape, or form, right? So,
But I think it's important to note that the traditional AIs can really limit a lot of possibility. But AIs that are designed to be relational and connective and ask questions that can open possibilities is, I think, where the magic is.
Yeah, like the year of agents here, where it's actually prompting you if we can kind of co-create methodology. So it's kind of prompting in a more Kootenay culture style. And then really bringing it down to different age brackets and walks of life, different abilities. So some people want to go deep, and the people just want a few minutes of interaction. Yeah, so that's the real potential, right?
Absolutely. You can even build simulations to a choose your own adventure to learn about what's the experience of accessing housing in the Kootenays.
Imagine that.
Simulation can help us interpret and understand, and I've experienced some like that.
Totally. From the behavioral standpoint, we're actually one of the few creatures that can predict this far ahead. We have the ability, the innate ability to do a large amount of predictions, but because we're so limited to got to go to work and got to do these tasks, you're kind of hand in front of the face moment. But now the AI is really opening up this new opportunity of scenario building. I call it futurescaping, where you can really start to say, okay, what does it look like when you do this and that and this and that? You build this and that and this, and ooh, I like this direction, and then producing video content or digital simulation. So you can actually do that kind of scenario mapping with a group like you had, right?
Exactly. Yeah. There's so much potential to explore it on all different things, such as attainable housing.
Nice. Okay. Well, that's great. Thanks so much, Jayme, for taking the time. Really appreciate it. And looking forward to staying connected.
All right.
All right. Thanks. See ya. All right, we're back here at the Affordable Housing Symposium. It's actually the West Kootenay Building Affordable Housing Symposium. There's too many words in a lot of these groups and events. Got to shortcut it here. But we're here with Kamren from Community Futures. Kamren, tell me a little bit about the work you're doing these days and the other organizations that you interface with.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Community Futures South Kootenay. So we're Trail, Roslyn, Fruitvale, Montrose in the South Kootenay area, or sometimes called the Lower Columbia, if you want a mouthful. And we're working with all sorts of different businesses and companies that are trying to get up and off the ground. So one of the big challenges that we face is we'll have an entrepreneur with a great idea. They find a market for that idea. They're out there. They're starting to have some success and traction. Then they need to hire people. And so are they hiring people that live locally, or are they bringing people into the area? Really exciting time, but also stressful for companies, because as they bring people in, they have to house them. And so how does that housing look? Organizations like Community Futures can support an entrepreneur during business hours, but it's those after hours, and it's those costs and that quality of life that we need to make sure that people have taken care of so that they can focus on what matters most, which is building successful businesses and supporting our local economies.
Yeah, that's awesome. And how are these entrepreneurs finding their ideas to start in this ever-changing economy at the moment? How is this dynamically represented in the entrepreneurs? Like, how are new ideas being formed?
The best ideas often come from experience. So we'll have people that are working in an industry or for a particular business, and they see a problem in their day-to-day life, and they say, wait a second, I need a solution to this. And then they look out and say, are there other people that need a similar solution? So it's coming with that industry expertise, but it's also having the business acumen that goes behind that, and organizations like Community Futures can help you with that. And then also understanding, like, how do I sell? How do I engage with customers and bring a product or a service to market, sort of thing. So.
Yeah, gotcha. And so what are the other gaps that you're seeing here to really support entrepreneurs at the moment? Where do you see the next year kind of play out in the age of AI?
Well, maybe to shift gears away from housing for a moment and talk about my day job.
Sure.
We just look at basic need for startup capital. So how can we make it more accessible and plentiful? We have great entrepreneurs with great ideas. And then how do we build successful teams? How do we get people with those advanced skill sets to either come to the Kootenays or develop those skill sets here in order to build that next great startup? And then the final one is, do we have the place, the capacity, the facilities, and the infrastructure in place so that they can be successful and build these businesses, whether it's access to data centers or office space or manufacturing or warehousing and such. So there's a lot of great people working on different aspects of this, and it's awesome to have days like today where we can kind of come together and connect and talk housing, but also just talk, what's the next phase of the entrepreneurial journey in the Kootenays.
No kidding. Yeah. So it's all about communication and collaboration and co-creation and kind of bring it together.
And community. Don't forget.
And community, because we live in communities and we want to support communities. So that's great. And so any like amazing companies that you're seeing these days that are like, wow, look what just showed up.
Yeah. Well, I have the honor and pleasure with working with a few of them right now out of Revelstoke, and there's an ongoing joke that there's something in the water in Revelstoke, or maybe it's just like people are driving that Trans-Canada and they look at that snow and they're like, I'm stopping here. And we just need to convince them to trickle down south towards Roslyn Trail. But there's, we're really fortunate, like people that live in the Kootenays choose to live here. They live their values. And when you have people that are guided by principle and mission, they have the ability to create spectacular things. But all over the board, from ICT to clean tech to AI, there's some really, really amazing things happening from some amazing people.
Cool. Yeah, that's one thing I would love to see at some point, is just like a better ability for entrepreneurs to connect with people that really want to support them. Because they do show up in Revelstoke because it's got good marketing, right? And a big ski area. What do we need to do as a region to really showcase the values of each of the 100 communities? There's all these micro communities. Down south, there's a lot of individual like nano community size, and up north there's just the major communities. So like, how do we encourage the flow of things? If we want to flow business information, how do we support each other between housing societies and tourism groups?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of meetups, and so we've had a great history of meetups in the region. You know, the COVID kind of knocked the legs out of that, but they're coming back, right? And they're showing up in these communities. It's giving people an opportunity to hop on a bus or get in a car or ride their bike and go see someone else and be willing to have those conversations, because it's not until you meet face to face or in real life that these things become real and they become meaningful connections. So just recently in Roslyn, we had a wonderful tech meetup group in the search and rescue hall, and have over 30 people, and most of them didn't know each other even though they lived in the same community. So and the vibe after that and the feedback was amazing to reconnect with people or meet new people and then really understand what the talent is that's here, because often talent hides itself in our homes or in our offices or in our ski helmets or bike helmets, and we don't really realize what some of the people are capable of doing and bringing them together. So organizations like CAST and Community Futures and some of the other grassroots ones that are out there are essential to making this whole ecosystem work.
Yeah, we've got like 1,500 people in the tech club here that are all decentralized across the Kootenays knowledge and tech workers. And so, how do we look at events in a different way? Maybe the techies hosting events where the housing societies show up and we talk tech. Instead of housing societies talk about housing society priorities, kind of talk about that interface and an open hackathon, perhaps.
Yeah, those are great ideas. And so what we're looking for are collisions, and having an ecosystem isn't about one player kind of calling the shots. It's about different groups having different opportunities to contribute in their own way, and then looking for synergies and ways to complement and collaborate with each other. So if the spirit's there, which is, in essence, that's Kootenay life, right? Like that's we do look out for each other, and we do want to try and make this work. And but the challenge is real. Like I heard this great analogy that the Kootenays is the same size of Belgium with 100,000 people living in it, and with mountains and lakes and all sorts and forests keeping us in our own valleys and our own communities. And so it's a commitment, but every time you get out of your town and you meet with someone else, there's a great opportunity. So I'm blessed over the years to have people that I work with in Revelstoke and Nelson and out in the East Kootenay and in Invermere and Cranbrook as well. And there's just great people doing great things, and we just need to share the voice. So thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
And being a part of this.
For sure. And thank you. And Trail, obviously, we just interviewed Kamren from Middle Tech Alley, and understanding how much innovation is going to EVs there. At some point, will be autonomous vehicles flowing around this whole area, and everybody will be connected autonomously and together.
That sounds pretty wild, but I'm looking forward to it. Right.
Oh, right on. And well, thanks so much for taking the time. Looking forward to doing some more work with you.
Yeah, anytime. Cheers.
Okay. See ya. All right, we're here again at the West Kootenay Building Affordable Housing Symposium, and I am here with Mitch. From which organization?
I am the president of Gerard Station Development Co. Inc.
Fantastic. We've heard a little bit about this project. I'm really excited to learn more. Tell me about it.
We are building a 43-unit full-service supportive housing facility in Railtown that will be, once completed, owned by BC Housing and operated by Nelson Cares.
Fantastic. Yeah. That's great. And so how's the timeline looking?
We're going to be done. We're looking for occupancy at the end of June. Yeah. And then I think the move-in date for Nelson Cares is September 1st.
Woohoo. Yeah. This is a big year for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. And tell me, how's it been going? What are the biggest challenges for you?
Well, the biggest challenges right now are finishing. I think projects like this, there's a lot of moving rocks uphill at the beginning of a project. And then, finishing is a push, and finishing it so that it's finishing on time, on budget, at the highest standards possible is, what we're focused on right now. Yeah.
Gotcha. Super. And then the rest of Railtown, we're just hearing some other speakers here talk about the evolution of that neighborhood. How's that all working with people working together on a development?
It's a really challenging piece of property. there's a lot of environmental issues. It was the home to a smelter, and this is a lot of the dirty work that Nelson was built off of happened in this area. Our property was fortunate enough to have a environmental certificate of compliance, and it was remediated, but it still required quite a bit of work and management to get it done. The other issue with that whole part of the city is it has no city services. So no electrical distribution within the actual chunk. We were fortunate that we were, on government road, so we had access to city services, but there's no storm down there. Each property, as it stands right now, has to deal with their own storm water. So getting the city to be involved in civil infrastructure, or, as I understand right now, the burden of that cost would be on the developer. So I think there's some real barriers to, a very prime piece of property. It's all privately owned as well. So, what's the market value of it is going to be a challenge. But I think what's happening at the Chamber of Commerce and our building is, as you start to chip away at the fringes, it's going to make it easier for other developers to perhaps, start making some stabs at the brown earth that's still there.
Gotcha. Yeah. So strengthen the amount of projects that are happening. They're all trying to take a stab in different directions, but it's all going to make something bigger happen over the end.
Maybe. I mean, I think the biggest challenge for rural communities in British Columbia is a lot of the brown earth that hasn't been developed for a reason. And it's those reasons I'm mentioning. It's in environmental issues, it's ownership difficulties, it's civil infrastructure, all of that. So yeah.
Gotcha. Super. And what more do you think people should be doing in their developments wherever they are in their community after you've done yours? Like, what have you learned to kind of pass on to the others?
Man, you need to do everything in your power to try and understand and forecast every foreseeable cost that's going to come your way, because there's stuff that I didn't plan for. I maybe could have, but there's a bunch of stuff that I could have never have seen. So doing your diligence on paper before you break ground, before you start going for money is, it's the safest way to get a clear idea of what your project's going to cost. Having really big contingencies, both your soft costs and your development costs is key. Partnering with people you trust. There are some amazing local subcontractors that might be a little bit more expensive, but you've got someone who actually cares because they're in your town. They're hiring local people that drive by the building every day, developing a sense of pride. Because really, at the end of the day, we talk about, cost and trying to build things as cheaply, as efficiently as possible. But there's an enormous amount of value in building something good that's going to last. And paying a little bit more of a premium so that you're not encountering change orders, cost overruns. Hey, we created this budget that's super slim to get us the financing we wanted and make it all look on paper, but then when you're actually in the ground and it's real, it's costing more than you thought it was going to cost, and that's where things get super difficult. And that's where you see projects stall, cut corners, get into trouble, lose money.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And you started this project how many years ago now?
6. Yeah.
And in that time frame, we got AI. How has AI really helped the flow of things for you?
I would say AI, I use it every day. For me, it's an amazing tool to, my contract with BC Housing is 90 pages. So when I reference my contract and other contracts, AI is a great tool to summarize them. Hey, what's my, give me a to-do list of how I close out my contract with BC Housing, and rather than having to go in and read a whole bunch of legalese, get my lawyers involved. I'm going to my lawyer with just like, hey, here's the to-do list based on my contract. Does this line up with what you're seeing? Yes, it is. So some workflow, I don't think it's been super integrated to the full scope that it could be. Yeah. And it'll be interesting to see how it helps. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think it's going to help for the most part on the nuance of performas, the nuance of contractual agreements, the nuance of workflow. But really at the end of the day, and one of the main points why I'm interested in moving in development is you still need someone there to build your HVAC. Yeah. And you still need someone there to, do the landscaping on your site. So there's still a lot of, skilled jobs, human jobs that are going to be required in this space.
Maybe just a bit better organized.
Until we got robots.
Robots. Yeah. Oh, yes. Let's chat automated home building. But we will get there with the robots for now, how to optimize your business process with AI.
Yeah.
Awesome. And are you planning to do more developments in the future?
We'll see. I mean, I think you can kind of have an idea to do them, but as we're seeing here and stuff, like, there's can be a lot of ideas and a lot of intent, but whether or not you can actually pull it off is, kind of remains to be seen.
Yeah.
There's an ever-changing landscape with the government. But at the end of the day, people need places to live. Yeah. And, rural communities are way behind when it comes to housing infrastructure across all sectors, from supportive to, everyone's been building supportive senior housing forever, and no one's been building market rent real estate. And as it was said earlier, like, the numbers don't pencil for a private developer to build a rental building to own and hold and have it be a viable investment. Mm-hmm. So a lot of this stuff has to be society led.
Yeah.
And you got to find a way to meet the funding shortfall between what a building costs in 2026 versus what even market rent can support as far as a mortgage is concerned. There's a big gap there.
Yeah.
Where's that money coming from? So
yeah. Q automated.
I'll build something.
Or make it more efficient in the building process, which is what we're doing with Kalishnikov and all the other housing innovation companies here and professionals that want to do things differently. They just need exposure. So how do we bring them together? I want to thank you for featuring a lot of the housing innovation on the Kootenay Mountain culture over the years, and and doing a lot of the spin out work, the food, mobility, energy systems, which people need as part of their living package. Mm-hmm. So thanks so much for showcasing that on KMC, and
thanks for your help in that as well.
Yeah, right on. Yeah. Awesome, Mitch. Well, thanks so much for your time.
Appreciate
Cheers,
it.
man.
Thanks.
Best of luck.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Ah.